Hello, amazing. When you're presenting, should you rehearse what you're going to say or just wing it? How much should you prepare? Welcome to Reframes, the podcast where we invite you to take a different perspective on life. I'm Matthias Jakobsen. I've been asked this question on the podcast before, specifically about these episodes, if I plan what I'm going to say, if I rehearse it in advance. And my question has changed since last time I answered. Now my answer is, well, it depends. Depends on what you want to get out of it. If what you want when you're presenting something or filming yourself or recording yourself, as I'm doing here, if what you want to get out of it is just the fun, the thrill of doing it, of recording, of making something, then by all means, do it with no prep, with no rehearse. Just hit record and see what comes out. But if you do that and you feel that your work is underappreciated or that you're misunderstood, perhaps don't blame other people for that, because you decided to just do it for your own sake, for fun, for the thrill of it, just to see if you could wing it without any prep. But it may not work for other people, and that's totally fine. I think that's the first point. That's totally fine. I've lived most of my life, I would say, and worked most of my life this way, just making things for myself. And I've only ever been, you could say, moderately successful with that in the eyes of others, but I've been successful in my own terms because I've had fun doing it my way. So that's fine. But if what you want is to be an actor on a Broadway stage and command that room and deliver your lines perfectly, then you probably need to rehearse. You probably need to rehearse a lot. But that's a specific situation where it's worth it to rehearse, because you're playing that same show twice a night for months, if not for years. For most people that are in business and people that I meet, the reality is neither. It's not enough just to do it for themselves, because they have sales targets and things they need to hit, they need to get things done. So it's not just for their own fun, but they don't have time to rehearse for weeks for a presentation that they're going to give once, at least not most of the time. And so perhaps what you really want to get good at is to be in that middle ground where you can have kind of minimal preparation and still do it good enough that it works for other people. You've thought it through, you've decided what it is that you want to say, why you're saying it, and what's in it for the listener. You may even have practiced it once. It's not Broadway stage. It's not rehearsed for weeks. It's not the other end of the spectrum. It's not just winging it without any prep. That's where I've landed for now. That's where my answer has shifted to for this podcast. I've gone from being, it's just for me, just want to press record, see whatever comes out, to now having worked also with a podcast coach, to just get a minimal structure in place. It doesn't take a lot of prep, but I do some prep. So for example, now I will switch to the final section of this podcast and say, what I want you to take away from this is, when you have a question like this about rehearsing something, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is it that I want to get out of it? Is it just to practice winging it? What is it that I want to get good at and get out of it also? Do I want to get good at winging it? Then that's what you should get good at and practice that. If you want to be on a Broadway stage and deliver your lines perfectly, and you can afford to put in that effort and get good at being rehearsed, then do that. And if what you want to get good at is somewhere in the middle with some prep and some rehearsal, and get good at quickly preparing, quickly rehearsing, and then getting to a good enough result, and that's what you should do. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Reframes, the podcast where we invite you to take a different perspective on life. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Niki Schmikis. I'm Matthias Jakobsen.